Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market. Let's talk about what is happening to Tesla stock and really to the market as a whole, and really what we can expect moving into the rest of the week. Today we had, of course, PPI came in pretty damn good. Clearly, the market rallied off of it. And tomorrow we have CPI, probably an even more important one. So we'll see how the market reacts to that based on how CPI comes in. Who knows? Maybe even if CPI comes in at expected levels, the market just is a sell the news event. Who the hell knows, right? That's why you want to take these events with a bit of grain of salt and some caution. But jumping into it, let's just really talk about it, right? I mean, Tesla closing the day up about 5.24%, closing at almost $208 per share, which compared to the market, you can argue Tesla is essentially just following the market with QQ up a pretty, not surprising, but a whopping rather 2.5%. Also, by the way, again, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. And my membership section is live. The link is down below in the description on YouTube, of course, right? It's there's two tiers now. If $2.99, you get access to all my thoughts regarding Tesla and sometimes also obviously just the market as a whole. $4.99, you get access to also my posts regarding NVIDIA that I also started posting there as well. So whichever tier you want, it's there for you. But jumping into it, let's talk about it. So I kind of want to start very quickly with the market, right? The market's in a pretty interesting spot here. And the reason I say the market is in an interesting spot is because it is at a pretty potential major resistance, right? Market had a beautiful rally and it did actually crack this level, right? Yesterday, we did print what could have been actually a top candle. Obviously, PPI said, never mind. And we rallied pretty substantially off of it on a little bit of elevated volume, which is a nice sign to see. Still a little bit lower volume than I would have expected on such a day, to be completely honest, but still volume at least surpassed the last 2 days on the market, right? SPY and QQQ both look pretty similar. You can see SPY now is actually a pretty major resistance. You can see many support levels all the way back here, pretty much right around 542, 543, and we closed at 542. So SPY is definitely at a pretty massive resistance point. QQQ, you know, not as bearish in my opinion as SPY. I think QQQ actually showing a little bit more strength overall. I mean, naturally it is up more percentage wise, but you know, it's still at the market bias and it's pretty much right at that 23-day moving average. So it has rejected us several times in the past on this kind of downtrend we've been on. Let's see if it happens again. So, you know, it really comes down to CPI. I really want to see if we do not crash post CPI, then I think any dip post that is viable. Not financial advice, just my opinion, but that's just the way I look at it with the market right now. I mean, tech is showing definitely some pretty impressive strength, I will admit. Now, let's talk about Tesla. Tesla also showing some nice strength today, actually, right? You know, we ended up talking about, you know, this level that we were in before, this little, you know, range that we were trading and getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I mentioned yesterday how, you know, if Tesla breaks even above like 200.5 or 201, that alone is a good sign to me that at the very least it wants to retest that 204 level I've been talking about for quite some time, if not break it. Well, we end up not only retesting it, but we pretty much blasted right through it as well. That has, of course, acted as a resistance many times in the past. And we actually ended up coming up right to this gap fill and pretty much closed right at that gap fill. So we'll see what comes into tomorrow again with the CPI, right? I'll give you my two perspectives that I see moving into, honestly, even as early as tomorrow based off of CPI itself. So, but again, to kind of reiterate, right, this is why you want to be careful. I ended up actually entering shares pretty much at market open. I had a good feeling. It was like a weird gut feeling. I had a feeling we would push up like this because the market was rallying pre-market. Tesla was just pretty much flat, if not actually slightly red as the market opened. So I had a feeling that wouldn't last. So I ended up ending shares. I did exit half my position near the highs of the day, around 206, but I am holding half of my position in case we do get a push up tomorrow off CPI. So let's talk about that, right? First, let's just talk about my levels, right? Where do I expect us to go if we do rally off CPI tomorrow versus, let's say, we don't rally? Let's say we quote unquote crash or move downwards off CPI. Where do I expect it? Well, honestly, pretty much the easy way to look at it is going to be this, right? If we do go up off CPI, I personally expect us to pretty much get and gap up very close to about 215. I expect 215 to be tested tomorrow if the market rallies off CPI for whatever reason. And that's exactly the level I'd be expecting a pretty substantial rejection at. Why? Well, pretty simple. Same thing with the market. I mean, the market, Tesla is actually lagging the market a little bit because as I just showed, if I bring up both of these indicators again, right, the market is already at both of these indicators, testing them potentially as a resistance, right? We'll see. I mean, technically as a resistance, maybe we blast through it and we turn it back into support, but we are essentially testing the trend of the market, if you will, which is this band, of course, which is now red, and of course the actual white line itself, right? That's what the market is doing. Tesla, obviously not there just yet. You can see it's just ever so slightly above us, pretty much sitting, I mean, at the moment, it's sitting closer to like 217, 218, but this will obviously meet us a little bit lower tomorrow. And honestly, somewhere around that 215-ish range is where we pretty much be entering that level to test this downtrend resistance, if you will, right? That's pretty much the way it is, right? It's called a market bias, and the current market bias is bearish, obviously, right? With massive red band. So I'd expect us to go up there if market decides to rally off CPI, but I would expect a rejection, and I'd be pretty surprised if we just blast through 215, 216, 217, like that general range, and just, you know, cruise right through it. I'd be surprised. It's not impossible, but I would be surprised. Now, if we do end up not rallying tomorrow and we end up just rejecting and moving downwards tomorrow off of CPI, Tesla would be not that bad, honestly, because it did, you know, show some pretty nice strength that I'd like to see today. But if we do happen to reject, I would at the very least expect Tesla to come down to about 202, 203-ish, which was this kind of, you know, old area of resistance back here, right? 204 to 202 roughly. Worst case scenario, I expect Tesla to come back all the way down to about $200 per share, maybe slightly into the 190s. To retest this breakout that we just had, that we were, of course, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so essentially it will look something like this, right? Either we come back down like this and then potentially rally, or we come back down and, you know, we move up from there. Those are one of the two levels I'd expect us to go to if tomorrow the market, you know, reacts negatively to CPI. And I'd expect them to hold, and I expect us to rally off of that, at least as of right now. Obviously, if we break this level, if we break below 198 and we start closing back again below 198, this would be, in my opinion, pretty much a false breakout. It would be a massive bull trap, and I'd expect Tesla to finally get its way all the way down to probably the mid to low 180s. But again, one step at a time. For all I know, at the moment, with the strength being shown, if we do get a sell-off, I'd expect one of these two levels to hold, and we just blast past or blast even higher after that. That's what I expect. And again, if we end up rallying, I'll just kind of, you know, one more time reiterate what I see. If we end up rallying instead, right? Again, I'd expect a pretty fast move, honestly, up to about 215-ish. And then I expect a rejection and make our way back down. Now, if Tesla and the market is just somehow extra bullish and there's just no stopping this market and we just go to the moon essentially, and there's just, you know, full throttle, whatever. The best case I see on Tesla that would be very bullish, obviously, is we do break above and go up even higher. We go up to closer to 220s, maybe even 225, best case scenario, right? One of these two levels. And then we end up just essentially coming back down to retesting 215, to worst case retesting this downward channel breakout, and then move up even higher. Those are the main two up levels and the main two down levels I see as of right now, and kind of what I see moving forward, right? Again, nobody knows how it's going to play out. Nobody knows what CPI is going to be. Nobody knows how the market is going to react to CPI. CPI can come in at expectations, but it doesn't mean the market will rally off of it, right? Considering the market has been rallying substantially off of this massive dip that we had not long ago. So anyone that panic sold down here, they're probably looking in this market and praying for it to pull back so they can get back in. But I wouldn't be surprised if the market either A, doesn't let them ever get back in and it just continues rallying, or if there is a dip, it's not a very massive dip. The people that kind of left early are now thinking that, you know what, it's dipping, great, I want to let it dip a little bit more and then I'll re-enter. Never dips low enough, and then it just completely rockets without them once again. So instead of going, you know, it'll go like this, for instance, as opposed to maybe some people are expecting something like this. You know what I mean? That's more like a psychological aspect of it, in my opinion, just, you know, regarding market structure and how the market likes to treat retail, I guess is what the way to put it. So anyway, another thing the market, the bears can be looking at for Tesla right now is going to be this, right? This is another potential bearish take, I guess, is if we take the recent swing low, let's go to the 1 hour chart. If we take the recent swing low, right? So high rather, which was pretty much all the way up here around 233, 234, and we bring the Fibonacci all the way down to that recent swing low. So from the recent swing high to the recent swing low, all the way down here around 182. You can see we did end up pretty much getting almost a potential correction rally back up to the 0.5 Fibonacci. This is why I also think the best case scenario is about 215, which is that 0.618, which would essentially correct this massive sell-off we had pretty aggressively as well for Tesla. But that's where I'd be, you know, a little bit cautious, right? I do at the moment expect a rejection, either literally where we are right now, the 0.5, or we rally up to 215. And I do expect a rejection there. One of those two levels, I don't know which one, which is why I'm at half a position in case we do get a 215. But I do expect a rejection at one of these. And then we see how Tesla reacts. Does it just come back down and retest these levels that was a resistance, now turns into support, and we're good to go? Or does it crash back underneath those levels and we turn them back into resistance? And in my opinion, again, like I said, false breakout would be bearish, would be concerning. So those are the levels I'm looking at, and that's kind of the general idea that I'm kind of eyeballing as of right now. But like I said, Tesla, not bad today, right? Breaking above this potential, downward channel that trend line that we did break down below, obviously acted as a resistance. peeking our head back above it. One candle does not make a trend. This could still be a false breakout, but a promising sign nonetheless. We have the 200-day moving average. We finally ended up closing back above it when we obviously couldn't for several days in a row. Also a good sign. Like I said, though, one candle is not a trend. Ideally, what we do now is we come back to that general range in the low 200s, maybe ever so slightly in the very high 190s, and we turn it back into support, turn the 200-day moving average back into support, and then from there we can base and move up even higher. That would be the ideal scenario. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see what the market decides to do with it, but that's kind of the general consensus that I am seeing moving forward. A lot of options sold today on Tesla, a lot of calls being sold on Tesla, so people clearly are not fully buying this bounce, but there are some calls being sold. But with that being said, Tesla did have some decent call flow come in as well. But I would assume a lot of them were taking profit on, because you can see nowhere to be found on the bearish flow, and it's probably pretty low on the bullish flow. I can't even find it on the bullish. Actually, it's all the way down here, pretty much non-existent. So I would assume a lot of profits have been taking on Tesla as well, right? We had a dark pool come in pretty much right at the market close, right? 207.83 is where we closed. That's exactly where the dark pool came in, pretty much as Tesla closed. 27 or 23 million as well. We had some earlier as well, 41 million and 82 million come in at around 206. So clearly some dark pool orders are coming in, whether they're buys or sells. This remains to be seen. In my opinion, if the market gaps up tomorrow, they're probably buys. If the market gaps down below these levels tomorrow, they were most likely sells. But all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And as usual, I'll see you for the next one. Peace.